welcome back to another 1/6 scale figure video. Today will be a comparison, a versus battle if you can say that, between the InArt and Hot Toys Pennywise. And I'm going to go pretty in depth with comparisons, you know, between the head sculpts, between the body, the proportions, the suit accuracies itself, the base, other various accessories, and basically whatever else I can pin these two up against. You know, and I do want to start off by saying, if you're unable to get both of them, or if you have to choose, you know, I would say both are really, really good options. You know, I'm not going to say one's bad. It's all up to the individual to interpret that. And I mean, just look at them both as well, you know. Both of them are still really, really great pieces. So regardless of which one I believe is the better, superior figure, doesn't necessarily mean it is to you. And also, I just want to add here, you know, the fact that we've got two companies doing a pretty niche horror IP is remarkable itself, you know. So I definitely commend and celebrate both companies for even stepping into this IP. And you know what? It's actually not even the end of it, because we have now Sideshow revealing sometime this year their Tim Curry version, which obviously I have to jump on that, considering I, you know, grew up on the Tim Curry version. Obviously I'm not a 90s kid, but I watched it before this one came out, you know. This was back in the day where I thought Stitches, the really shitty Ross Noble movie, was the closest thing to a It remake. But then we got this version, the 2017 version, and its sequel. Which, by the way, the Hot Toys one is based on the sequel, which is Chapter 2. As you can see there on the base. Some people might not know, but there are differences between the suits. Not really major stuff, but if you've got an eye out on costuming and stuff like that, you will know that there is differences. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of my intro rambling. If you guys do enjoy this, make sure you like and sub. And we'll get straight to the comparisons. So I'll start off with showing the head sculpts individually. So you got the Hot Toys one here, which is a very, very commendable release and head sculpt. You know, this is still a very, very good head sculpt. The hair is really, really good. It is sculpted, but it still has that really good texturing. And like I said, this is part 2, so you have a little bit of the S-curl more pronounced compared to the first movie. It is there in the first movie, but it's not as, you know, wild and out there compared to this. You know, you got the cracks in the forehead, which is really, really nice. The face paint is really good. Cracks all the way pretty much on his face. The teeth look pretty good too. You know, they do look rotten and disgusting. The eyes are positioned up to have the head sculpt tilt down like that. And I mean, look at that. That still looks really, really good. It is a bit cockeyed as well. Not maybe as much as I would prefer. And you will see on the more monster expression, if this isn't monster enough for you, you do have the other head sculpt. That one is a bit more cockeyed, but this one still is pretty good. So you have the Hot Toys one here, so I'll put that down, and now I'll grab the InArt one. And the InArt one is amazing. You know, it's basically what you just saw upscaled 4K. I think that's probably the best way to say about this head sculpt, is if you have like a 720 rip is pretty much the Hot Toys one. This is the 4K render, because it's basically just enhanced detail. And obviously you have the eye rotation, the singular rolly eyes, so you just flip it around and you got the joystick there. I have it kind of cockeyed to the dancing scene where his eyes are all over the place at that point. The teeth are really amazing too. A massive standout to this head sculpt, and the angry expression one too. Face paint is flawless as well. And obviously the major difference is the rooted hair. Pop them both up now in frame. And yeah, I think both of them are really good, serviceable figures. The one complaint I do, however, have with the Hot Toys one is the head was not big and alien-like, while the InArt one is absolutely massive. For people that don't know, Skarsgård had a cap, a prosthetic mask, to make his head look more bigger in the film. And my first complaint for the Hot Toys one was, why don't we have that? You know, this looks like a regular head sculpt from Hot Toys. And you can see there is a visible difference with the foreheads. And now just really enhancing the zoom. They're both basically trying to fight for focus, but I think this is the best I can do for now. And yeah, I think the wording I said before, where this head sculpt from Hot Toys is like a 720 type render, and this is the 4K. Still good head sculpts, either one. It's just this one is much more detailed. And you do get a bit of party tricks with the rolly eyes and the real sheep's wool hair. So yeah, I think that's head sculpt one comparison. I think personally the winner is InArt. As much as I love the Hot Toys one, I think InArt nails a bit more accuracy. But yeah, still really good head sculpts either way. So what I'm going to do now is pop up the second head sculpt and compare them. So now we have the two alternate head sculpts, InArt on the left, Hot Toys on the right. And I do want to point out that it is a bit unfair to compare these head sculpts because they are expressions from different scenes. While the first head sculpts, the more neutral looking ones, are identical because they're based on that same scene. So it's not really fair to compare, but I will say out of the Hot Toys head sculpts, this one is my favourite. I think this is much better than their neutral one. I think giving the jaw this elongated look adds to the alien head that the neutral one did lack. The more bobblehead look. And this one is amazing too. Again, such a shame InArt didn't give us two bodies. And just to have them together in one more frame. like I said at the start, it's really unfair to compare because they're two different expressions, two different styles of looks from two separate movies pretty much. They're not identical, but if I was to pick which one had better detail, it would be InArt. But this one's still amazing too, so don't let my opinion take anything away from this. I prefer this one. This one's still amazing. So now I'm going to bring the bodies out and do a comparison to the suit and the proportions. And now we're going to talk about the figures, proportions, and accuracy of the suits and the collar. And I just want to point out, I didn't realize how tall the Hot Toys Pennywise was standing straight on the base. You know, he's almost hitting the same length as the actual massive diorama that InArt offers. You know, I usually had Pennywise hunched over in a pose. So this is the first time since my review years ago, since I've had him pose straight up and down like this. But yeah, that's just interesting to point out. And also just a disclaimer, with the InArt Pennywise, I mentioned in the review that the collar was an issue of mine, but I feel after a bit of futzing and particularly holding the collar in position with your hands for a short period of time, maybe a minute or two, it does form fit to the way you hold it, and it's basically, you know, style it at your will, and it will get to the position you want it basically. But speaking of the collars, these are the two offerings that these companies give you, and I feel it's kind of a weird situation of comparison when you see them side by side like this, because I think each of them have positives and negatives. So I'll start with the Hot Toys one. I feel the length to the actual buttons is a bit better compared to the InArt one. You can see there is a bit of gap between the buttons to the actual collar, while the Hot Toys one pretty much covers half of the button, which is a bit more accurate. The collar is actually ruffled quite a bit on the Hot Toys one, and the InArt one out of box is pretty flat. But where InArt surpasses Hot Toys is the volume. You know, he's pretty much engulfed in nothing but collar. And in the movie, it pretty much was like this. And you got the Hot Toys one there. And yeah, the Hot Toys one is not as good as it should have been, especially a drastic shift between their promotional images. You know, their advertisement showed the collar pretty good, and they kind of, you know, reverted to this and scaled down a bit. Weird choice, but it was something that a lot of collectors, including myself, pointed out. So I think collar-wise, I mean, honestly, I would give half a point to each, because I feel the ruffles and the texturing is really, really good on the Hot Toys one. But the volume pointing up to his ears is good on the InArt one, but then Hot Toys one volume down to the buttons is, you know, much better than the InArt one. So it's kind of a weird thing here to compare and to choose which one's the best. But I think overall maybe the InArt one, just because how much volume it is. So maybe I do have an answer, and it's the InArt one. Now, speaking on the suits, they're pretty identical in terms of, you know, if you look really quickly, you would think they're the same. But there are differences, and there's actually one big difference, and I was talking about them, is the buttons. So InArt is part 1, and you see there the button is on the belt, which is accurate to the first movie. And then you go here to the Hot Toys one. The button is no longer on the belt, it's on the chest and stomach portion, accurate to the second movie. I don't know why they changed it between movies. I have no idea. Did Pennywise, get a different stylist or something? But it is accurate to the movie. He, for some reason, removed that button and chucked it there. So I assume he got a new suit. Or maybe because, the clown, Pennywise, is an interpretation of how the humans view him. So maybe the Loser Club misremembered some things, and hence why it is differently interpreted to the second movie. I don't know. I really don't have an explanation, and I don't think it is a detail even in Stephen King's novel. So zooming in to a close-up to their upper torso and shoulders, and just to see the weathering difference and the wrinkle difference between the InArt and the Hot Toys one. I feel the InArt one is much more accurate in the suit compared to the Hot Toys one. Obviously, they're from different movies, but I would say the InArt one represents both movies compared to the Hot Toys one. Also, the texturing as well is much more manageable with the InArt one. They both have very, very similar feel, kind of like a paper mache type thing, but for some reason the Hot Toys one is very springy. I guess the word is the best to represent that. You can't really do much with it in terms to flattening it or moving it around compared to the InArt one, where it is a good rough material and it would stay the way you position it. Also the weathering too, so you can see this looks like a monster that's been crawling in the sewers, and the Hot Toys one just looks like fresh out the dry cleaners. A big difference is the cuffs. So you got the InArt there on the left and the Hot Toys on the right. Just some little details like that really, really shows you the attention of care. So I feel for this section of the comparison, which is the proportions and the suit accuracy, I would go for InArt. Nothing against the Hot Toys one, I just feel out of the box, the InArt one is perfect. Saying that, D Knight has done an amazing job to update and upgrade his. He done a technique with water and paint to give the dirty weathering. At the same time, I feel the water technique that D Knight done on his Pennywise is also shrunk the suit a bit to make it seem a bit more form-fitting, like the InArt one here. So it tapers here, it's just kind of straight, and I feel what D Knight did kind of tightened the suit up a bit more and made it look much, much more flush looking. But yeah, what I'm going to do now is go down to the base and compare them to, well, the base is up as well for the InArt one. So I feel to appreciate both of the bases, I would remove both of the figures, aside from the head sculpt there, which I would say is part of the base. I think it's an amazing choice that Hot Toys did to add the head sculpt. Instead of throwing head sculpts back in the box, you can display it a part of the base. It's a shame Hot Toys haven't done this technique since. They seem to have moved away from doing something as cool and unique as this. Saying that though, the Hot Toys base is a bit of a Control C, Control V to the Prime 1 statue. I feel there was a little bit of plagiarism with the base that Hot Toys gave. Still a good base. It is reused though. And it is, again, a little bit of plagiarism to the Prime 1 statue. And on the left here you have the massive InArt one, which is a multiple choice diorama. This is the backdrop that I've opted to go for, which is the dancing clown cart scene, pretty much at the end of the movie, where he obviously does the iconic, now memed dance, I guess. And it is real wood, velvet fabric curtains, magnetized clip-ins for the arches there, and obviously a magnetized base to stand Pennywise. And I'm not going to go too much and linger on with these bases because I think there is truly one winner here, and it is the InArt one. I feel the InArt one is a solely unique idea. I haven't seen any It memorabilia, whether it's NECA, Prime 1, Hot Toys, whatever you name it. I have not seen a company do this style of diorama choice, and that is the sole reason why InArt has won the base comparison. Again, I love the Hot Toys one. It is a really, really good thing. And again, it's such a shame that Hot Toys have moved away from opting to use the Headsculpt and merge it with the diorama. I hope they do bring that back for other figures. Actually, saying that, Hot Toys have actually elevated their diorama-based game with the Hugh Jackman Wolverine figure, their version of Heath Ledger's Joker, and, you know, there's a shitload more at this point. Hot Toys have really, really done great with bases this year, so I'll give them that. But I think the InArt one is the clear winner. So now what I'm going to do is bring the showstoppers back and go to my final thoughts. So just my final thoughts on the comparisons, the verse war, I guess you can say, with the InArt Pennywise and the Hot Toys Pennywise. I think, for my case, because I have both of them right here in front of me, I think the main reason for me to do a comparison was not to shit on a company or to say one was better than the other. I think I don't really like doing that, to be honest. I think the main reason is because I have two characters that are exactly the same, I'm not a fan of having so much of the same shit in my collection. That's why you don't see a lot of Marvel and Star Wars and all that. Saying that though, I have two Pennywises here, and at this point I have to get rid of one of them because I'm just like that as a collector, where I can't have two of the same thing. And going through my comparison during this video, I think personally the InArt one is the one for me to keep. I feel it is the much more accurate one, the much more presence building one. I think it comes with a really, really impressive diorama with real materials that would have been screen accurate. And I think the head sculpt, the rolly eyes, and the rooted hair is a game changer for 1/6. But saying that, if you have the Hot Toys one, I don't think you can go wrong with it. I still think it is a very, very good figure. And there is no hard feelings to Hot Toys, or to anyone that does own this one, because I do feel if you're just a casual fan and like it, but don't want to go all out price-wise for this guy, this is still perfect. And I feel people shitting on this figure are being really, really unfair, because not everyone wants to spend big bucks on a character that they mildly like but do want to have in their collection room. And you can't go wrong with Hot Toys, you know. They've been around in the game for so long that people are familiar with them as a company, and 9 times out of 10 they make good stuff, and this is a great figure here. It's just, for me, I've got too many, you know, and I have to get rid of one. So unfortunately, it has to be this guy. And then on top of that, I just remembered, not only do we have Skarsgård's interpretation of Pennywise, we have the future Tim Curry version, who I personally think has the better adaptation. I love this version of the movie, don't get me wrong, but I grew up with the Tim Curry version, you know, and I still kind of have a soft spot for it. I mean, I'm saying it like it's a bad adaptation or something like that. It's not. It's really, really good. and yeah, I feel like having one Skarsgård and one Tim Curry Pennywise next to each other in the collection is going to be really, really cool. And I can't wait for that to happen. So Sideshow, please hurry up and put that up for pre-order, because I would run to that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure you like and sub. And I'll see you in the next one.